What's a dark secret / questionable practice in your profession which we regular folks would know nothing about? There is a problem in substance abuse treatment in the United States called body brokering. Substance abuse treatment can be very expensive and insurance companies pay a lot of money for a patient to be there. Treatment centers will hire body brokers to find addicts with the best, highest paying insurance and entice them to check into the specific center. The treatment center then gives the broker a commission from the insurance money. This can go as far as body brokers literally putting more drugs into the hands of some addicts before they come in. BC the higher level of drugs in your system upon admit, the more and longer the insurance company will pay to the treatment center. Brokers will also hire other addicts in a pyramid scheme type way to check into the treatment center, make friends with the other patients, and upon discharge, encourage relapse so they come back to treatment. I think this one wins for the most ducked up. I work at a county jail in the Midwest. The most disturbing thing about jail is the terrible loop some inmates get stuck in. Many inmates with mental issues get caught in this loop where they can't have any clothes or items because they will try to kill themselves, and they are locked in their cell for 23 hours a day. This makes them more angry, so when they are finally let out they lash out at staff and then are locked down again. It's a vicious cycle for a lot of inmates and makes a lot of mental illness a whole lot worse. Staff can't do anything though, because if they allow the inmate with mental illness to socialize then they risk a lawsuit from those around them. Because of the individual's history of violent outbursts, majority of hospitals won't take them because they won't risk their staff. So they are just stuck in a room and their only hope is consistent medication stabilizing them. Pretty much all the high-end handmade in Australia jewelry in Australia is made at a secret factory in Bali. All the clients have to show an established business and sign confidentiality agreements. Edit. Unfortunately BuzzFeed has taken my comment and used it in an article without my permission. Because information I divulged in this post could get me fired, I unfortunately will be removing my comment to preserve my job. Very sorry. I recognize that I chose to share this info, so this is only my fault. Basically, I spoke on how bookstores will strip covers from books and throw them away. Have you ever started filling out a form for a quote on something, insurance website, or literally anything, and then changed your mind and said nah, I don't want to give them my personal information, and then abandoned the form before pressing submit? If you think that stopped them from getting your personal information, it didn't. Most companies looking to capture leads will capture your info in real time as you enter it into a form. The submit button is just there to move you to the next step, not to actually send your information to the company. Yep, I filled out applications for jobs and decided I didn't want to finish / work there. Never hit next, never hit submit, although I clicked on a button on the previous page which sent me to the next page, which was in a new window and had my phone number, name, and address, semicolon. I get an email, finish your application. The following hours, oop-de-doo, I got a call the next few days later about the job I applied for. Yeah, no, I declined it. It was Chick-fil-A for anyone wondering. Customs broker here. Every day hundreds of thousands of containers and air shipments arrive into United States territory. The volume of customs entries entered every day is staggering. When we get licensed to be a customs broker, we are trained and tested, not just on knowledge, but ethics. We even take a pledge to partner with CBP to uphold the law and cooperate with them should we come across anything suspicious. Why so much emphasis on this? Customs can't actually screen everything coming in. I'm oversimplifying, but CBP basically works on the honor system. You file an entry saying what the shipment is, and they just take your word for it and release it. This happens hundreds of thousands of times a day. Maybe at best customs can screen 3-7% of what's coming in. The rest of just wave through. Former British customs officer here can confirm. The amount of international trade is staggering, and no government is able to do a 100% inspection on all the freight that arrives. So we rely on past history, shady customs brokers included lol, intel, etc to target our efforts. And no, I'm not going to divulge anything more, so don't bother asking. So, yeah, smuggling happens, whether that's goods, drugs or people. But when we do find something, Expect the world to drop on your head. Government wants its revenue. Boys and girls. And it doesn't like being cheated of them or finding 30 plus dead people in a shipping container at all. This is going off on a tangent, but last year I was following the news of those bodies found in a container and how the truck driver was immediately arrested and then charged. After doing some research, it seems common in the UK for the drivers to be charged from the outside. Having spent years moving containers, it seems to me like it's merely for having possession and control, even if they didn't know what they were moving. The one last year, the guy was dispatched, went to the port, pick up the box, and then delivered it, and the delivery site where they found the bodies. I don't understand at all how the driver could be charged, especially considering that it's almost impossible for a driver to choose what container he's going to be picking up when there's several middlemen involved. One other case in particular, the driver was doing 6 years, even though his attorney was arguing that he had nothing to do with the process in choosing that container and was literally dispatched to pick it up by his company, who won it in a bid through a broker less than an hour before he was dispatched. Edit. I've had some clarification regarding the driver from last year. Apparently he regularly did this and admitted as much. I understand how he was charged. That doesn't change that I've seen several other cases, including the one I mentioned above about the driver doing 6 years, which was clearly and no way the driver's responsibility. The most noticed I've ever gotten on container once from a broker I regularly deal with, and it was 3 weeks. By that point it was already on a ship and on the way most of the time, including the one with 3 weeks notice. I don't even know where the origination of a container is. Every once in a while I'll get paperwork that says a container is coming out of Shanghai or Brazil, etc. I'm guessing that the driver that was involved actually worked for the receiving company and the company itself was the front, because only the shippers and end receivers really know where things are coming from, and from the beginning it's still they only have a general idea of when something is going to arrive. There are so many people involved in so much that can change on a minute-to-minute basis that there's a reason it's almost always port, shipping line and actual customs employees that are involved. You know, the people who write instruction manuals or user guides and things you buy, half the time they've never even seen or touched the product. Some dude just sends us pictures, a rough description of how it's supposed to work, and that's it. Eater. Wow, this took off. To all the dudes of Reddit, I actually browse the brand specific subreddits to figure out what to add to my user guides, because that's how little info my company provides me. Thanks for making my life easier. Instruction manual writer here. Although for software, you know how there are always frequently asked questions? I have no idea what's frequently asked. I make all of them up. I hate you for it, but I would do the exact same thing. Not currently my profession, but ghostwriters in fiction. John Grisham, Danielle Steele, James Patterson, Janet Ivanovich, etc. All those big names with a net bestseller every year use ghostwriters who are never credited or mentioned. It's barely even a secret. Sometimes we lick artifacts to quickly determine if they are bone or pottery. Bone sticks, pottery doesn't. And then tap them on our teeth to determine if they are pottery or a rock. Rock will hurt, pottery won't. Archaeology. If it has to be accessed regularly and in its setting, it's not secure. Not unless you're in an industry that actually polices it. Yes, people are dumb enough to pick up USB thumb drives they find on the ground. The nicer and newer it is, the more likely it'll get plugged in. Also, if you're looking to verify the security of your vendors, don't announce your visit. At a very large pizza chain restaurant that remains widely popular, we had these perforated pans for thin crust and stuffed crust pizzas. They'd get washed in the dishwasher by the hundreds per day, and at least half would still have burnt cheese and shit on them. Well, they were just stacked to dry when making new pizzas in those pans. Sometimes the pans that were left to dry overnight grew bits of mold around the burnt cheese. We were told just to put the dough on top, because otherwise we'd never keep up with the orders if we rewashed everything. The manager said, "Don't worry, it gets cooked." Oh gosh. I worked at a couple pizza places, 2 big chain ones. At one, the grease was unreal. The dishwasher basically had to be scraped once a day to get the thick film off. They didn't have an actual dishwasher either. Just made the drivers clean them, and the drivers didn't want to do the dishes, so they'd just toss them in there haphazardly. I can't tell you how many times I'd find pans with a layer of oil still in them and have to send a bunch back through. My husband worked there for a short period long after I quit. He said he caught one of the managers dipping plates in the sanitizing water and just sending them back out. Disgusting. The second big chain was all hand washed and done properly, but I think that was more specific store based than anything. A lot of the time the engineer you talk to about your project and decide to trust with it delegates it to cheaper contractors as soon as you sign the paperwork. Their job is new business. Sometimes librarians read the new books before registering them in the catalog for the public. Evil laughter. Edit. Wow. I did not expect to get so many upvotes and comments for something I wrote randomly at lunch, but very much appreciated. Thank you. And thank you for the awards. Air traffic control. Cue the Breaking Bad jokes. A diagnosis of virtually any mental illness and a diagnosis of many physical conditions is disqualifying and will end your career. For that reason, people avoid doctors like the plague. Young kids talk to their teachers / coaches / counselors / principals about their parents a lot, and kids pick up on all the dirty little secrets. I work in logistics / trucking / rail / ocean / air freight. Everyone lies about everything all the time. Outages occur, sure. Bugs happen too. Most of the time these things are known and are put off until they happen or are complained about. Many hotels often sell rooms multiple times. Used to work in airport hotel, knowing that chances are some guests won't arrive due to missed or delayed flights, so we sell more rooms that we have. You have guests checking out from 2/3 am due to early flights, so even though the room is technically still fizz, you quickly and sometimes poorly clean the room and tell the arriving unexpected guest or new booking there's a random computer issue and to wait 20 minutes and then check them into the departed guest's room praying. Multiple times I've had to run a kettle under a cold tap to hide the fact the previous guest used it 15 minutes before the new guest arrives. Many bills are literally written by lobbyists or special interest organizations. I have seen my boss give bill language to a state legislator and then found the same language in print a few days later several times. The bill may change in committee, but usually not drastically against the original intent. You do not want to know how long food sits on the loading dock before it gets into the cooler. How many people who work with children, teachers, child co-workers, etc. don't follow confidentiality guidelines, gossiping about families with coworkers, talking about children's home situations, creeping families' social media, etc. I work at a theme park and we use codes with number for situation that could happen in the park to not create panic. We also use codes for some category of people, like a code 25 means there's a fire, code 20 is for mentally disabled people. We also use hand signals sometimes for some situations. When we take x-rays of your pelvis, we can see your penis, and we can see your labial folds. I was more embarrassed seeing the massive turd I was storing on those ray when the cute tech handed over my charts. My aunt works in the medical field. I guarantee knowing someone has to shit is by far the least disgusting thing she had to deal with that day. I've worked in fast food, and it is a sad reality that many workers will come to work sick because they can't afford to lose wages. One year, the flu was going around town, and I think our restaurant was ground zero. Teachers should talk students as much as students do. Don't get me wrong. We love you and want to see you succeed, but you're some assholes. There is at least one water bottle / soda can / energy drink spray paint can sitting on a piece of blocking behind your drywall somewhere in your house. Edit. Wow. This took off. Thank you for your plentiful updates. This is my first comment to break 1000. My basement was never finished, and it says electrician's milk bulls in Sharpie on the wall of the foundation. Some stores that sell used merchandise like video games and movies will pay you money for stolen stuff, even when they know it's stolen. It doesn't hurt them to get brand new games that were only released hours ago for a fraction of the cost. Then they turn around and sell them for $5 cheaper than a new copy. They are getting brand new never opened $60 games for a few bucks and making a huge profit. Sometime we learn something the day before we teach it to you. Whoa, this really hit a chord with people. Lots of shared experiences. It's great. I've had a couple teachers say they were also learning parts of a course as they were teaching it to us. Actually made me feel a little better about asking questions about the subject. Yup, it's not uncommon. I always have to reassure new instructors. They always feel like they need to know the whole breadth of the course before they start teaching. You just have to stay a week ahead of the students. Scuba instructor. We preach how important safety is to our students. When we dive for fun and without paying customers until we get up to some very questionable shit. This is essentially the way almost every dangerous field is, I feel like. In the professional. I've been doing this for years. I've accepted all the risks and know exactly how and why this stupid thing I'm doing could kill me. Do not be like me. Funeral director. You can buy a casket from Costco for 20% of the price that I'm going to sell you one for. About 70% of the cost of the funeral is overcharging options and leading you on to feel guilty if you don't take them. We have a lot of fun when we don't deal with customers, but we never have that fun with bodies. The real reason programmers have so many screens is because one of them almost always has Google pulled up on it. No one knows what they are doing 100% of the time. It's typically always this should work, or well hope this works. Our athletic department has strong-armed financial aid into finding money for athletes who have sub-2.0 GPAs, are constantly busted for drugs, and get in trouble all the time, which leads to them being ineligible for athletic money. But we want to keep them on the team, so they find other money to keep them here. You can buy stamps from your mailbox. Just leave a note and money and stamps will be there the next day. Also, if you don't have a stamp, you can leave a letter in the mail with some change taped to it, and that will pay for the stamp. Pretty much any software you use is jack together spaghetti with no tests. I ended up quitting a career because people, all genders and ages, kept trying to solicit me for prostitution. Young male massage therapist. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for the upvotes. Former retail pharmacy technician. I received many forged prescriptions for strong narcotics for otherwise seemingly young, healthy patients. In hindsight, it's really sad, because I'm witnessing the opioid crisis unfold before my eyes. But the pharmacist has full discretion to pretend we don't have the drug in stock, turn people away, or straight up call the cops. We will literally put on our acting game and keep these people at the pharmacy until the cops arrive. Every stereotype you've ever heard about retail and sales staff doing everything in their power to make a rude customer's life hell is 100% true. Make sure you spend the most money. Done. Send out the worst version of the product. Done. Put you on hold for an hour while they have a chat and a break. Done. University professor, we don't actually read your entire answer. Most of us don't. Edit. It depends on a lot of factors, and not everyone does it. I remember when I was a little kid I had this teacher who was a hard ass for no reason. At that age I hadn't yet become a brain-dead idiot and was actually pretty smart academically, so I finished a test before everyone else. When I got up to turn it in, she skimmed over it and told me it needed more work and to sit back down. I just erased and then rewrote exactly what I had written before, so I looked like I made changes and then turned it in several minutes later. I still remember her exact words. Now this is much better. I did the work too fast, so obviously I was just being lazy, right? Stupid bitch. Had a teacher send me back to my seat with my finished test because I finished too quickly. Ended up just checking that my answers were bubbled in right. They were. Doodling for a few minutes, then turning in the test. Got a good grade anyway, but after that point I got into the habit of filling out my bubble sheet after going through the whole test because it makes it look like I'm double checking my answers, which, you know, doesn't help me or the instructor, but it's a habit now. Those donate now, and your donation will be double slash triple slash quadruple matched, or we only need 10 more donors. $5. 000 more from your zip code. MLs are all lies, but they work. so we keep sending them. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.